Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Triple CC, that's the time traveling toy collector, and today we are looking at finally the Transformers Studio series from Transformers the movie, Constructicon's Hook and Long Haul, who I think are both Voyager class figures, and I think this has been discussed to death in other videos, so I'm not going to really get into that here. But they've been packaged as one of this year's Commander releases because essentially they're a 2-pack. So it's really a Studio Series 86 2-pack. You know, it's a decision that was taken. I presume it's a decision that was taken for budgetary reasons, but also to ensure that we got this combiner completed within the year. And is it a nuisance to have it like this? Is it a waste of a Commander spot? On one hand, I think yes, possibly. I think on one hand, it's because we're being kind of deprived of a supersized, potentially super engineered, much loved figure coming back into the fray. But on the other hand, we are, you know, a third closer to the completion of the full Devastator. So, you know, I kind of get it. And I also kind of get that there are additional component parts. So all of the other combiners have all had a Commander class figure that's incorporated the additional segments. So Silverbolt, for example, Motormaster in Legacy. And because nobody here has a trailer and the combining mechanism for Devastator is different, they couldn't really do anything unless they made Long Haul a commander in himself and gave him that an extended trailer of effect. But then that would have looked more peculiar than it already does. So I kind of get where they're coming from, and I kind of get where they did it. So that's probably going to be the extent of my talk about that, unless something comes up when I'm looking at the figures themselves. But let's start with the box. The artwork on the box is, of course, beautiful. And I'm glad it is, because now we don't get the included inserts as a bit of a background thing. You know, I feel like we're missing out a tad on that. But let's get a bit closer for the artwork of these two. So we have Hook and we have Long Haul. We've seen in some of the other combiners that Long Haul tends to be the sort of slightly stockier relation of the group. And the artwork here looks really great. Hook there looking all hooky. Not entirely sure that those legs are going to be as accurate as all that, but we shall see. But yeah, really nice piece of artwork. Obviously the rest of the box gives us a glimpse at Devastator, and around the back we have the product shots. So there we have the beautiful work on Hook in vehicle mode, in which they're packed with this extended hook which does rotate out, and in robot mode. And there we have Long Haul in his standard configuration and robot configuration, and also the extended element where he has a truck trailer so that his hauling gets ever so longer. And we're talking 17 steps here and 19 steps here. So, you know, all in all, not too bad. And I think I'm hoping they're going to be fun. They're going to be fun. And as we can see here, a little bit of blurb that Long Haul and Hook combine with the other Constructicons in a shock twist to form Devastator. So there you go. And we do get a glimpse of Devastator taking on Sludge with, I'm sorry, but it's Slag. Or Slug if you prefer, but Slag, because why would you prefer Slug? Looking on about to give him the old flame 1-2. So yeah, so there's a lot going on. It's very green. Let's see what they're like outside of the packaging. And here we are with Hook and with Long Haul outside of the packaging. And my first, you know, I've spared you all the unclipping and everything because they were held in quite well. And my first reaction to this is pretty strong. I won't deny it. My reaction to the vehicle mode's pretty strong. So much so, in fact, I kind of have the view, and you know, everyone will have a different view on this. And I get it, because the Constructicons are very much loved parts of so many people's childhoods that every time they're produced, it is a discussion topic, you know. But I think these look really good. Neither one of them on their own is a Commander, but I can kind of understand why we've got them like this. Although I still would have liked an actual Commander figure, but as I said, we're not going to dwell. But my first reaction, yes, we had to pop on Hook's crane assembly there, but I really like it, and I think the thing here, mine's very stiff, so if I want to move the joint there, I'm going to have to work with that a bit, because it is extremely stiff. But you know, once it's done, it's done. You do get some extension here in that, and you can rotate it around. But as mentioned, he's got some wiggly waggly on the actual hook part, which is lovely. But yeah, he is a bit on the stiff side. And we do have this rather obvious block in the middle. But you know what? Huge construction vehicles, which these are supposed to be, you know, they have blocky bits. And there's a lot of lovely surface detailing. Sorry, before I put him down and leave him alone. You know, there is some very nice surface detailing that strikes that balance. Some nice silver headlights there. That strikes the balance between having too much detailing all over the thing, and being so cartoon accurate that it's completely devoid of any surface detailing. And I think they've struck a happy medium here. I think it looks like it needs to look for it to be a recognisable G1 hook. But having looked at G1 hook in my Deconstructing Devastator video series, which you can check out if you haven't already, then, you know, the G1, going so far G1, you've got no articulation at all. We'll come back to that, I suspect, knowing what's coming in the robot mode. But I think what we get with these Studio Series 86 Constructicons is that kind of hybrid between the G1 figures and the Unite Warriors / Combiner Wars figures, which I've also looked at in that Devastator Deconstructing Devastator set playlist, because you know I've managed to get both of those sets now. So I think this makes for an interesting, almost bridging set of toys between the two, because obviously the Unite Warriors and Combiner Wars are significantly bigger. They're huge. They're like proper sort of pseudo Tonka toys. They're massive. And it generates a phenomenally large Devastator. Whereas the G1, of course, is under-articulated. Some of them barely stand up. And are tiny. You know, they're almost a tiny scale above what we might have classified as Matchbox type figures. So very G1 in their original format. And of course, no one Constructicon in the G1 range was significantly larger, like we would see the leaders in this when the special teams were released, such as Menasor, Superion, etc., etc. So they were all much of a muchness, and the same thing translated into the Unite Warriors set. They were all much of a muchness, except of course Longhaul, who was Behemoth practically. But nevertheless, they were large, much larger vehicles. And some of the articulation suffered, certainly in the Combiner Wars version, but the Unite Warriors, Takara Tomy did make some adjustments, sort of, certainly around elbows. But they were modern, in inverted commas, because I know how old they are, but they were modern G1 representations, and they really worked with mostly great articulation. Some dodgy bits, but mostly great articulation. G1, hardly any articulation at all. And now we have Studio Series 86, and much like the other two extremes on that Deconstructing Devastator continuum, these sit kind of in the middle. They are well scaled with each other, I would suggest. They are nicely, they nicely align with each other. It feels like a cohesive set, which you want if they're going to combine. But they also aren't too big to be handling about and look too oversized, although I do have a very soft spot for the Unite Warriors. I wouldn't say that they were necessarily oversized. That's not necessarily my take on it, but I can understand why some people would find them to be so. But these sit in the middle, and I think that's also then reflected in some of that articulation, which is, again, not me being an apologist for a lack of articulation, especially if you're paying, because let's be honest, we're paying a Commander class price point, which is usually about the engineering, now we're told, not the size. And to have that with little, from what I understand, I'll check it out firsthand shortly, but with very little to no waist articulation, for example, That's not commander class price point articulation. But of course, I get that this primary combiner was not designed that way. You know, he was designed to be 6 similar vehicles that combine together. So it doesn't have the freedom of a core commander of the team to hold everything else together. They don't have that element. So again, I kind of sit on a Cybertronian fence with it. I can see both sides of the position, as I'm sure most people can, you know, realistically. But yeah, there are, and I think that's why I'm not overly worried about some aspects of this, because I think they sit in the middle. So here we have long haul looking really good. Again, a nice range of surface detailing versus too much detailing versus not enough detailing. And this is a lovely little, so the engine pops down. Some of you will have seen this before, just to show some engine work there. That is also, I believe, available in a robot mode. I haven't transformed them. They're literally out of the box. I haven't transformed them to robot mode yet. And very excitingly, I also got an email just while I was unboxing them to say that Mixmaster and who's the other one that I've got left over? It's not Scrapper, Scavenger. Mixmaster and Scavenger have both been dispatched, so I should be able to follow this up with them in quite tall order. So short order even. So I really like the little detailing here on the side. Of course, we've got the usual purple detailing around the windows that we've had across the piece. Silver headlights, Decepticon logo front and center there, which I always appreciate. There's not a lot of capacity for him to have anything in there dump truck wise. He's a dump truck that can't hold anything. That's a little unfortunate, but again, it's of the time and of the piece. But of course, the additional gimmick we're presented with long haul, and one of those things that sort of slightly ups the ante in terms of his commander class price point, is we get a trailer. Now, again, it's not a huge trailer, but we get a trailer. Again, you can't see any sort of obvious interior storage for this, but it kind of has everything you need. It's got a sort of a nice connecting piece there, and that does connect in here. You can see the sort of nubbins either side of it, technical word, and you can see how that will then fit in the 2 holes here. It's actually very sort of 1980s toy, so I sort of part that gently and slightly. It's quite hard to do with a camera in between you and all that sort of malarkey. Might have to sit him down for this. And push them back together again. And there you have it. So it does hold. And let me just move hook temporarily. Then you have long haul being able to pull his new caboose. So again, as a commander class package, we are seeing a trailer provided, and that trailer will support the combination of the ultimate combiner. Now, again, as with the other Constructicons, I'm not going to be turning them into their Devastator combination parts in this video. That will be something that will be happening when I've got all 6 together, and then I will do a separate Devastator video. And then what I'll probably also do, because I did promise that I'd do it, is I'd do a follow-up of all 6 of them together in the combiner special, the Deconstructing Devastator playlist. But I do like that they have given us something extra for that commander class price point, because this wouldn't have fitted in the Voyager class. They just wouldn't be able to do it. And of course, with that comes the additional gubbins. So we've got gubbins here, and we've also got a packet of gubbins here, which I've, as again, yet to open. It's got bits of his chest and some other bits and pieces in there as well. I don't know what they all, I'm guessing they're his hands, or they'll become his hands, or whatever. But I think there's also the little guns in there as well for Hook and for long haul. So let me get this opened up and we'll see what this is. So inside we get the chest portion, which I've managed to drop. This part of the chest portion, we get these actually are packed separately, but we get the 2 of those, as you've seen already, that are packed separately. You get these blaster units which contain fists. You have to attach the fist and then fold it in, but very straightforward. And you get 2 of those. And you get 2 weapons. This one you have to assemble, but that's relatively straightforward. This is long hauls and this is hooks. Long hauls, we are shown in the instructions, attaches here for defensive purposes, and hooks I think attaches here. So have I misread where that does it? Nope, that's not right. Where does hooks go? I've just looked at it. I have just looked at it, which is not helpful. Where are we? Where's your gun, mate? Honest to goodness, these things. Oh, okay. It's because I'm lunatic. I've gone the wrong way. So his gun should have something. Yeah, there we go. So his gun tabs onto his hook there. Sorry. It's a tiny little nub in there, and his gun, as you would expect, tucks perfectly onto his hook assembly there. So we'll do that for now, and there you've got long hauls attached on there. Now, all of these pieces, as will come as no surprise because we've seen it before, do attach onto here. Let's have a little look at how that works. So these attach, I'm hoping I'm doing these the right way around, but these attach onto here, like so. Do they go that way around? Again, I've literally just looked, but then I just second guess myself. No, of course they don't. They go the other way up. So although I quite like it like that, but apparently according to the instructions they go. Is that right? Am I making this up? You're all probably screaming at me right now. The angle flat across the side. So flat across the side is this way, yeah. So they want it this way up. So they just tab in there, or they should do, like that. And there's 1, and there's 2. So they just tab nicely there. On the bottom of here, we have a little peg that we need to pull out. Let's see how easy that is to get. Here it comes. So there's 1, and then these peg onto the top here, like little weapon systems. I don't know whether they're supposed to be. Oh, snap. I was going to say earlier, one of these was a lot less easy to fit in than the other, so I'm really hoping that snap hasn't done anything unpleasant. It did sound a bit grim. And then the last section, which is this, I believe tabs in, come here, the only way it can really, into these slots here, under here. That should just slot in. Do I need to move this out of the way? It hasn't said that I need to move it out of the way, but I'm going to move it out of the way anyway. Slot that in there, so it's nice and secure underneath. Bring that back so it holds it there. So that fits in nicely under there. And then there you have all of Devastator's accessories. Oh, attached to his truck. So that won't stay in, obviously. But that's what it essentially looks like. That is what essentially you're getting for your in addition for your Commander class pass point. A little bit of Devastator packed up into a camper van on the back, which, you know, it does what it needs to do, but we'll pop that over there for now because the main event are these 2 chaps here, Long Haul and Hook. And from a vehicle mode perspective, I think they're really quite cool. I really quite like them. Are they perfect? I don't think we'll ever get them perfect because, of course, our imaginations as children made them perfect, and there's no way you can compete with our imagination. It's not going to happen. So whether you're a G1er or you're somebody who wants to be, and I'm using the expression, you know, because there's not really such a thing as a G1er, it's just someone that's, you know. But if you are if you hold the G1 format in high esteem, then you already know, as well as I do, our imagination had to do all the work for those toys. So anything that's an improvement on that, where I come from, is fantastic, because you know it captures the original and then imbues it with modern day articulation as far as they can, to be continued. But if you're more about the big chunky versions, then again, are these falling a little short for you? Well, then you probably just want Combiner Wars, because that's probably as chunky as you're going to get. But for me, so far, vehicle modes, I'm okay with. I'm even okay with this, because again, they've given us this bit, the Combiner Wars version, well, the Unite Warriors bit in my case. You just attached all the bits onto a long haul, so you didn't need a bonus bit. They did it all. But again, we are imbuing our G1 characters with modern engineering sensibilities, so I can understand it. So here we have them, our Commander class Studio Series 86 twin pack, let's call it. And I think, you know, I did think about when it comes to the numbering, because these are the sort of things that really bug proper Transformers fans. It's the numbering and lists and things. Do I classify it as a single commander, so it's Studio Series 30 whatever, or shall I do them as Studio Series 30 blah and 30 blah blah? And I actually am going to do them as separate entities, because now that we're not getting the numbering for Studio Series 86 figures anymore, which I think is a shame, especially when you've got gaps in the existing numbering, that's just psychologically damaging for me, and probably not just me. But I'm over it, don't worry. Don't tell me to get help in the comments. I'm fine. This is very therapeutic, honest. But I think I'm going to do them as individually numbered, just to give them, because they're individual vehicles, you know. So I'm going to do them as individually numbered vehicles. They just happen to be released together, much like some of the other Studio Series twin packs, such as like Brawn and Ratchet and Prowl and Ironhide. And you know the ones I'm talking about. But we're not talking about them. But they were individually numbered, so I'm going to give this the same kind of respect as individuals that they were given. But anyway, enough. Let's take this to the next level, which is checking out their robot modes. I'm going to transform them off camera. I'll report back on any issues or difficulties I encountered, or any pressure points that you might want to be aware of. But yeah, I'll spare you that, just because I can get a little bit sweary and frustrated and burst into tears when I can't get them, when I think I'm going to break them because they're too stiff or they're this or they're that. So I'm going to spare you that. In the meantime, while I'm off doing that, if you could drop a like to the video, that would be great, as we're dropping a completely free subscription. If you're one of those people watching this who haven't yet subscribed, do please click it. Don't click it if you have subscribed, because you'll unsubscribe, and that's just, you know, a disaster. So don't do that. But yeah, thanks very much for sticking with me so far. I'll be right back with Hook and Long Haul in their robot modes. Don't touch that dial. And here we have them all transformed up into their robot modes. We have Hook and Long Haul, and I've got to say the transformations are pretty straightforward, pretty easy, as you would expect them to be, I suppose. Certainly not Commander class level transformations, but they're pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And I've got to say, I really enjoyed the transformations. They weren't complex. Now, there are a few observations I'm going to make about the arms, but the transformations themselves, yep, there was a few bits of stiffness around the legs, but they're brand new, so they're going to be a bit stiff. But nothing that was difficult, nothing that that I had certainly any real problems with. And believe me, if they were problematic, I would have had problems. But they came out, I think, in their robot forms. I really like it. Now, elephant in the room. No offense, Long Haul. Yes, they don't have waist articulation. But there is a waist joint, certainly in Hook, that is significant to enable the transformation to Devastator. And again, whilst I am enjoying the individual figures as best as I can, there is, of course, the ultimate aim, which is they will combine and form a stable, top-quality Studio Series 86 Devastator. So, to all intents and purposes, I can understand why the priority went from one to the other, because again, it's, you know, it is what it is. But starting with hook, he does have this dangling off the back. If you don't like it, as you already know, it is detachable, which gives him a very clean back. But he does appear with this on his back in the show, so in the film, so that I'm okay with it. The head sculpt I really like. I mean, let's just get in on that head sculpt. It's really nice. There's something about him that sort of screams it's just a bit of a, there's something whiny about him. I just look at his demeanor and I think, what a whiny guy. But yeah, I think the face sculpt is really good, very cartoon accurate. We've got the purple chest there, Decepticon symbol, thank you very much. We've got the wheels tucked away all over the place. I think this is usually the other side, but I might be making that up. But yeah, I think part of me thinks that's usually the other side, but I guess I could be wrong with that. The detailing there is really very good. If you ignore, which I know is difficult, but you kind of have to, but if you ignore the waist articulation being missing, you've got really good articulation otherwise. You know, everything you need it to do, it does. So it's got it there. We've got some nice ankle articulation. He's very, very sturdy. Again, you can give him a shake. There's nothing loose there. Everything is really, really robust. You've got some nice bicep rotation. Again, I think it's a thing with the Constructicons where the arms, they just, because of the nature of the beast, they just can't do that much with them. The wheels do catch on the shoulder pads, but the shoulder pads are independently lift-upable, so you can cheat extra maneuverability there, you know, as you need it, and then just sort of cheat them down again as you need it. So there's not really a major problem there, unless you really want to make one, but there's no need for one, certainly. But yeah, I think Hook has come out as in robot mode really well. I think he looks, just adjust his foot there, I think he looks well proportioned, so I think that kind of works. Looking at his compatriot here, long haul, well, he has a real kind of bullet head there, doesn't he? Again, his head is quite flat, but it does have rotation, a bit of up and down, more down than up because of the way he transforms. We've got all of that sort of detailing there. He can hold his gun. He's got slightly over 90 degrees elbow articulation, but like his compatriot, there's quite a bit of hollowness there where the fist has to go. So, you know, but on the dark, it's harder to see. It's a bit easier to see on the light green, so Hook suffers a bit from that. But again, you can see some internal detailing here, should you wish to, whilst he's in robot mode. I'm not sure why you would, but you might. The interior of the legs are designed really well, so there's not really much of a sense of too much waffling. I mean, you've got some, but it kind of looks okay in the context of it all. And there's also some detailing on the interior of where that wheel sticks out. Nice painted apps on the legs. We've got some nice infill there on the knee joint, and again, it's a lovely strong. All the joints on these are really strong. Ankles. Again, there's a bit of infill on the ankle, not all the way, but a little bit. And everything is, again, if I give it a bit of a nice sort of that toy guy kind of a shake, you can see that there's a lot of stability there. Let me just zoom out so we can get them both in frame. So arguably, as robot modes, they come over really well. You know, there's not really anything here that I want to sort of moan and complain about. I think they come out really well. They're equitable in size to each other. We will shortly see them alongside their compatriots. But yeah, I really like them more than I thought I was going to. I think I was a bit braced for them to be a bit rubbish. And again, I understand why some people are upset, but really the only thing we're not getting is the waist articulation, and that is a frustration. And it's a frustration for me, especially if you enjoy posing them and doing some sort of, you know, toy photography stuff. Then yeah, but I suppose we're going to have to see if that compromise, if that sacrifice is worth it when we get the entirety of 86 Devastator in play, which won't be long now. but I can tolerate it because of the potential for dynamic posing with the remainder of the articulation. And I know we haven't had 100% alternative good articulation across the other two so far, but these are not as pose debilitating as the lack of a waist swivel might suggest. Again, I understand the initial disappointment, but I suppose for me going into it knowing it's not there, because I've seen enough people go on about it, rightly, it wasn't a surprise, so it wasn't a disappointment. It wasn't an additional disappointment. I knew it wasn't going to be there. So I kind of was like, well, I know it's not there, so I have to work with what I've got. So I think if you go into owning these, knowing you don't have the waist articulation, and knowing that there is some gapping, you're kind of okay. I think the rest of what it delivers is good enough. And I am looking forward to getting the last two, and I am looking forward to getting us to Devastator, because I think feeling the robustness of these figures, I think we're going to get a real sense of that G1 Devastator. Upscaled, yes, because again, remember the original G1s are coming to about here by comparison. Not here, which would be more the Unite Warriors / Combiner Wars. I get that they're smaller than those, but much bigger than our G1, their G1 compatriots. So I think from a G1 point of view, which is where I'm going to come from, I think the upgrades we're seeing and the improved engineering all round really makes it work. Is it 100% perfect? No. Will it ever be? No, because as I said at the top of the video, our imaginations did way too much work, because they had to when we were youngsters. So this is never going to match up. But I think this is as pretty close as we can expect to get, and get a serviceable, more than serviceable Devastator at the end of it. I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think that these Constructicons have got it going on? Do you think no? Do you think they should have found ways to hide these wheels, and this, that, and the other? But again, that may be costing us somewhere else down the line, and I don't have a problem. Again, I hear certainly a lot of people who talk about how they are, they want G1 accuracy, they want this accuracy. Well, G1 accuracy, as I smash into the camera, G1 accuracy is, it ain't moving. You've got that, doesn't move. No articulation at all. The only articulated bits are the bits that you need to transform it. That's G1 accuracy. So for me, I want to go beyond G1 accuracy. I want that nice sweet spot between G1 accuracy, toy accuracy, and animation accuracy. And somewhere in the middle is what we get, because they can't do what they did in the cartoons, because physics won't allow it. So I'm happy with this personally. That's my stance. I will die on that hill. I hope I don't die on that hill, but I would if I had to. But I am keen on your views and your thoughts, because I do think it's a bit of a price point to get two in the packet, but you do get the added trailer section. Heaven forbid, let's not forget the added trailer section that will become a key component in the Devastator final mode. But yeah, let me know down below what you think. I've loved having you here. I know some people are a bit disappointed with them, but I'm honestly not. And I was prepared to be more disappointed, particularly the waist swivel, because again, I know I'm sort of downplaying it, but I do get why it's a frustration that it's not there. But I'm going to take them, I'm going to do some posing with them, I'm going to do some photography with them, which I'll include at the end of the video, as I usually do with my videos, just to see what we can do with what we've got in terms of their articulation. But it's been fab having you here. I hope you've enjoyed my sort of slightly chilled look at these figures, and I look forward to being back soon with another video looking at some more, and ultimately very close to getting our complete Devastator. I for one am very excited. Some of you may already have it by the time this airs, because I know they're coming out at different times in different countries. So if you have got it, is it something to look forward to? Will the sacrifices pay off? Let me know. I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but I don't care. I don't mind spoilers in some cases. And if you're not a fan of spoilers and you don't have it yet, don't read the comments, just in case. Okay, folks, thanks again. Take care. I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Or, of course, time traveling, toy collector, past video as well. It just remains for me to say that things of beauty and their trailers really are toys forever. Take care. Bye bye for now.